They already changed the lock, sir. The deputy said it like it was normal. Like people don't just lose their own house overnight. I stood there in the cold mountain air, staring at my front door. My door, with a brand new lock shining under the porch light, and Karen stood right behind it. She opened the door just enough to look at me, smiling like she had been waiting for this moment. "You can't be here," she said calmly. "You're trespassing." I actually laughed. "In my own house?" She didn't even blink. "You're not a member of the HOA," she replied. "That makes this property non-compliant? We secured it?" The deputy shifted beside me, uncomfortable. "Ma'am, he says he owns the property." Karen opened the door wider and held up a paper. "This is a notice of violation," she said. "Failure to comply with community rules. The board voted to take control of the property." I looked at the paper, then at her. "You broke into my home." "We protected the community," she snapped. Behind her, I could see my furniture. My couch, even my boots near the door. Everything exactly where I left it that morning. Except now I wasn't allowed inside. The deputy cleared his throat. "Sir, do you have proof of ownership?" I reached into my jacket slowly and pulled out my wallet. "Yeah," I said. "I've got more than that." Karen crossed her arms. "It doesn't matter," she said. "This land falls under HOA authority now." I shook my head. "No," I said quietly. "It doesn't." She stepped forward, voice rising. "You never signed the agreement. That makes you an illegal occupant in this community." Illegal? That word hung in the air for a second. Then I smiled, because that was her mistake. "I didn't sign," I said. "You're right." Karen smirked like she had already won. "Then you don't belong here." The deputy looked between us. "Sir, if you're not part of the HOA, that's exactly why they don't control this land," I said. Karen's smile faded just a little. I took a step closer to the door. "This cabin," I said slowly, "was here before your HOA even existed." She shook her head. "That doesn't matter. Everything inside this boundary is under our rules." "Boundary?" I repeated. I pointed down the dirt road behind me. "The same road that led up the mountain. You see any HOA gates out there?" She didn't answer. "Because there weren't any, just forest. And a long stretch of land that most people never questioned." I looked back at her. "You ever check where your property line actually ends?" Karen tightened her grip on the paper. "We have maps." "Old maps," I said. The deputy looked at me now, more interested. "What are you saying?" I glanced at him, then back at Karen. "I'm saying they locked the wrong house." Karen laughed, but it sounded forced. "That's ridiculous." I pulled out my phone and tapped a few times. "Is it?" I turned the screen toward the deputy. He leaned in, and his expression changed. "Ma'am," he said slowly, "this parcel, it's not listed under the HOA." Karen's face went stiff. "That's not possible." I slipped my phone back into my pocket. "Oh, it gets better," I said. She stepped out onto the porch now, anger replacing that fake confidence. "You think you can just make things up?" I looked past her into my own living room. Then back at her. "You broke into a private property," I said calmly. "Changed the locks and called it enforcement." The deputy straightened up now. "Ma'am, if this is true..." "It's not," she snapped. "He's lying." I took another step forward. "You sure you want to go with that?" I asked. Karen hesitated, just for a second. And that was enough, because what she didn't know yet was that this land wasn't just outside the HOA. It was something else entirely. Something they should have never touched. I looked at the locked door one more time, then back at her. "You really should have checked the records," I said quietly. "Because now..." I paused. "You didn't just lock me out." A cold wind moved through the trees behind us. "And you just gave me a reason to let someone else in." Karen scoffed. "Who exactly are you going to call?" I didn't answer her. I just stepped back from the porch, pulled out my phone and made one call. I put it on speaker. It rang once. "Yeah?" A calm voice picked up. "It's me," I said. "I'm at the cabin." A short pause. Then his tone changed. "What happened?" I looked straight at Karen. "They broke in, changed the locks." "Claiming HOA control?" Silence for a second. Then, "Don't touch anything." "I'm on my way," call ended. Karen crossed her arms again, trying to stay confident. You think calling your friend changes anything? I slipped my phone back in my pocket. No, I said calmly. But calling the right person does. The deputy looked at me. Who was that? I glanced at him. County Land Enforcement, Karen laughed. Loud this time. Oh, please, she said. We already cleared everything with the county. I didn't even react, because that was the second mistake. 10 minutes passed. No one moved. Karen stood in my doorway like she owned it. The deputy stayed quiet, clearly unsure now. The wind picked up, moving through the tall trees around us. Then we heard it, a truck coming up the dirt road, not fast, not loud, just steady. A white county truck pulled up and stopped behind the deputy's car. A man stepped out, older, serious face, carrying a folder. He didn't look at Karen first, he looked at the house, then at the door, then at me. You weren't exaggerating, he said. I shook my head. Wish I was. He walked straight past Karen, like she wasn't even there, and checked the new lock on my door. Then he turned slowly. Who authorized entry into this property? Karen stepped forward quickly. I did. I'm the HOA president. This property is within our... No, it's not, he cut in. He opened his folder and pulled out a map. A real one, stamped, detailed. He turned it toward the deputy first. This parcel, he said, pointing, is outside HOA jurisdiction. The deputy nodded slowly. Then the man looked at Karen, and more importantly, he tapped another section of the map. This land is under a restricted classification, Karen frowned. What does that mean? He looked her straight in the eyes. It means you don't have authority here. She shook her head. That doesn't make sense. It's surrounded by our community. Doesn't matter, he replied. Ownership and jurisdiction are not the same thing. I leaned slightly against the railing, letting him handle it. Karen's voice got sharper. So what, he just ignores the rules? He follows a different set of rules. That line hit harder than anything else. Even the deputy looked confused now. Karen pointed at me. Then explain it. What makes him so special? The man didn't answer right away. Instead, he walked over to the side of the house, brushed off a small metal plate near the foundation. Something most people wouldn't even notice. Then he looked back at her. This property, he said slowly, is listed under federal utility protection. Karen blinked. What? He stood up straight now. This cabin sits on top of a monitored line. Emergency access zone. That's why it was never included in the HOA boundary. The air went quiet. Even the wind felt like it stopped. Karen looked at me, then back at him. That's not possible. It is, he said, and you forced entry into it. The deputy stepped forward now, more serious. Sir, does that mean... The man nodded once. It means this isn't just trespassing anymore? Karen's face lost all color. What are you saying? He looked directly at her. I'm saying you interfered with protected infrastructure. She took a step back. I didn't know. That's not a defense, he said. Silence. Heavy silence. Then I finally spoke. You should have just knocked, I said quietly. Karen looked at me like everything was slipping out of her control. And the truth was, it was. Because what she thought was just a cabin was never just a cabin. And now, she wasn't dealing with the HOA anymore. She had just made it a federal problem. Karen's hands started shaking. This is insane. I didn't know any of this. The county officer didn't react. You still broke in, he said. The deputy looked at Karen now, completely different than before. Ma'am, he said, I'm going to need you to step away from the door. For the first time, she listened. Slowly, she stepped back. I walked up to my door, my own door, and stood there for a second. The new lock was still shining. I looked at it, then at the officer. Can I asked. He nodded. Go ahead. One of the county guys walked over with tools. In less than a minute, the lock Karen installed dropped to the ground. That small metal sound felt bigger than anything. I pushed the door open. Everything inside was just how I left it, but it felt different now. Like someone had crossed a line they couldn't uncross. I stepped in, took a breath, then turned back toward them. Karen was standing near the porch steps, looking lost. This isn't over, she said, trying to sound strong. The officer closed his folder. No, he said calmly. It's just getting started. Within the next hour, 2 more vehicles showed up. Not not local, federal. Karen's confidence didn't just crack. It collapsed. They asked simple questions. Who approved the entry? Who ordered the locks changed? Who signed the notice? Every answer led back to her. I thought I had authority, she said quietly. One of the agents looked at her and replied, authority doesn't come from a title. It comes from the law. That line stayed in the air, heavy, final, by evening. Karen wasn't giving orders anymore. She was being escorted down the same dirt road she once thought she controlled. No shouting, no arguing. Just silence. The HOA board tried to step in later. Tried to say it was a misunderstanding, but it didn't matter. There was footage. There were records, and there was one big truth they couldn't escape. They touched land they had no right to touch. A few weeks later, everything settled. My cabin was fully restored. The county reinforced the access zone. New markers were placed, clear this time. No confusion, no gray areas. As for the HOA, they got hit hard, fines, legal notices, restrictions, and Karen. She was removed permanently, last I heard. She tried to blame the board. The board blamed her. But none of that changed what happened. One evening, I was sitting on my porch. Quiet, just the sound of wind moving through the trees. Jake pulled up and leaned against the railing. Man, they really picked the wrong house, he said. I smiled slightly. Yeah, he looked out toward the road. They thought you were alone up here. I nodded. They thought wrong. There was a pause. Then he asked, so why didn't you tell them earlier? I looked out at the trees, the land, the place I built my life on. Because people like that don't listen, I said. They only learn when it costs them something. Jake chuckled. Guess that lesson was expensive. I stood up, looking at my cabin. Safe, mine. They didn't just break a rule, I said quietly. They crossed a line. The sun was setting behind the mountains now, casting long shadows across the land. Peaceful again. No noise, no control, just freedom. And before Jake left, he shook his head and said, crazy how they tried to lock you out of your own home. I looked back at the door, then out at the open land around it. They forgot one thing, I said. What? I smiled. You can't control a place if you were never allowed in it to begin with. The end.